or are there other things other than what he already knows that could pose a challenge to him as a property owner? That's what we'll be looking at today. Now, as a property owner, your aim is to have a peace of mind while being an owner of a property. It is not the idea that when you purchase a property or you have been in possession of a property as a manager, you start having issues here and there, having to run from one police station to the other, answering to one court summons or the other. That is not what anyone envisages when he's purchasing or managing a particular property. But these issues are bound to arise at one point in time or the other. So we are going to be sharing some highlights of these issues that may come and how you can manage them as well. Now, one of the common issues you have in a property that is already developed is injury to tenants, tenants injury. What are these tenants injuries? Now, as a property owner, you find that you always put persons in these properties. You cannot stay in all the property you have built all over the world. There are persons who have property in different states. In almost all the 36 states and the FCT in Nigeria, they have properties all over around them, and they can't stay in all of these property. And some of them, they build this property for commercial purpose only. So as a property owner, you give out this property to tenants, and these tenants who occupy this property, sometimes there are some inevitable injury that may occur while they are in the property. And if this is the case, you are the first person they always call on once they sustain injury in that property. Whether they are at fault or not, they will first of all call on you. Landlord, property manager, the property you gave to me, I sustained this injury, and there are bound to be expenses. The person goes to the hospital for treatment, and if it's something that's cost deep, it may also cost you more. Apart from that one, there are persons who may visit the tenants who are in the property. There are some times where maybe something that was kept in a very negligent manner, the thing ends up injuring a tenant. Or you are just doing some renovation in your property and someone comes in the middle of the night. He wasn't there when some things were kept in the property in a particular spot or the other. When he comes in at night, he doesn't know where these things are kept. He decides to use the road he always used it during the day, and he ends up getting injured. And you'll be the first person to be contacted that someone has sustained injury in your property, whether as an owner or a manager. And once this happens, you have to take responsibility. It doesn't matter whether you were there when it happened or not. So as a property owner, this is a challenge that you are bound to face. It is not something that may be as common as other things that happens in a property, but we have seen situations where a property owner, after bringing in a new tenant to the property, few months into the property, a certain parts of the building had some kind of mishap, and it resulted into an injury to one of the tenants or one of the persons who were visiting at that point in time, and the landlord had to take care of the medical bills and all of that. So you don't want that to happen. What can you do? Now, there are some parts of the building that could pose danger to anybody who is occupying the property at a time. You must put proper signages in those areas where you have dangers. You can, let's say, just put a notice that, okay, something like this is here. You'll see that persons who have dogs in their house usually have that sign at their own gate. Okay, there is a dog in this property. When you are coming in, you should know what you are coming to face. It shouldn't be a surprise that when you come in, you find a dog and you start shouting, oh, I have been injured by a dog. If you get into the property without permission, it means you are likely to be attacked. If as a person you have a dog in your premises, you need to put that notice there. And if there is a place, let's say you are seeking a borehole in your compound, you should put something there that should notify whoever is coming close that, okay, there is something here, there is imminent danger if you go past this line. And also, if let's say you are putting up a new structure, let's say you have a big property, a big land, and you want to develop other parts, you should also put something there, because we have seen situations where someone has a plot of land, he develops a half of the plots, puts tenants there, and after some years decide to develop the other half plot. You should also put something there that will let the people know, okay, don't go behind this particular line. Once you go cross it, it means you are ready to take full responsibility of whatever happens to you. Another thing you can also do as a property owner is to insert a clause in the agreement that a tenant is signing with you. Don't just say the tenant is going to maintain a property when something like this happens, or is going to pay rates, pay rent. That may not be sufficient. You should also put it there in the tenancy agreement that persons who come into the property unauthorized, you will not be liable for anything that happens to them. So if you have that as part of the clauses that you have in your tenancy agreement, that has a way of shielding you. However, if it's found that you were negligent on your own part, that may not be sufficient. So you must have done everything reasonable as a property owner at that particular point in time for this particular clause to avail you. Another thing you can also do is to ensure that the tenants who are coming in, they know at what time they are expected to enter into the property. Let's say the gate is locked at a particular point in time. Whoever comes in afterwards, the security are likely to do something to prevent the person from coming in, and the person says I was harassed in your property. So if there is this time stipulation as to what happens at this particular point in time, though it may seem like a restriction, you are restricting the rights of the tenant, but if those things are already contained in the agreement and the person has signed to it, it means he or she is ready to abide by it. He cannot say I signed to this agreement, but certain terms in the agreement shouldn't apply to me as a tenant. No, that shouldn't be the case. You must ensure you protect yourself very well at the point of signing any tenancy agreements with any person that is coming into the property. So that's about the tenants, injury to tenants or other persons who are legally into that particular property. For trespassers, let's say a thief decides to enter into your compound, there is no way you'll be liable for anything that happens to that thief at that point in time. Or a burglar who burgles your property, whatever happens to that person, you cannot be held liable. But whoever enters into the property legally, you may be held liable for whatever injury that happens to that particular person. Then on that one, we'll also look at is injury to property. You may be wondering, how can a property be injured? As a property owner, you understand that after a particular period of time, let's say 5 years, you have developed a property. After 5 years, there is bound to be wear and tear on that particular property. And once this is the case, you are bound to make repairs to the property. One thing that has caused most landlords is the fact that, okay, this thing is just small, I don't need to fix it yet. It's not really a problem to the property. Little things develop into big one. It's not like something just happened by accident. We know Nigeria is a blessed country. We have not really had any natural disaster of a sort, except for sometimes where you have flooding in some parts of the country. If not any of this has happened to your property, but due to negligence, you will feel that, okay, this has happened, you don't want to fix it yet, and it keeps degenerating, you may end up spending more than you have spent if you took care of anything that happened to any part of the building at the earliest stage. You also need to ensure that the property is safe at all times. For instance, a part of the roof pulls out because rain is not entering into your compound at that point in time, or it happens during the dry season. You say, okay, it's not raining, it's not affecting anyone in the property. You decided not to take care of that particular portion. When the rainy season comes, that part becomes more damage than you had considered it to be. Once this happens, you are going to incur loss. So one way you can do this to prevent having losses because of injury to your property is to ensure that any scratch on the property is fixed as soon as possible. Persons who neglect to fix their property at the earliest stage have had their property demolished by state government. Once the government sees that your property has started to pose threats to the lives of persons who are occupying that property, they are likely to bring down such property to prevent having casualties because you failed to repair your property at the earliest time. Another thing that you can also consider as injury to property is the fact that, let's say, a sink in your house is broken, you decided to ignore. After a particular point in time, you will see that there will be flooding in your house. You'll be wondering, how did it happen? Just a little hole may cause flooding in your apartment. So all of these things are things you need to consider while you are maintaining your property. So you should ensure that it is safe at all times. One thing you can also do in case of fear of any of these disasters that I highlighted, maybe flooding, there are other times where you have a fire outbreak in your property. Persons have lost their property due to fire outbreak. Some persons just flooding or rioting. We had situations a few years, 2 years back, where some properties were brought down after riots that occurred or shoot of a peaceful protest. So one thing you can also do is to ensure that you secure your property. How do you secure your property? Is to get insurance for your property. If your property is in a particular area that seems safe at the point you developed the property, it may not always be safe. You can just take out insurance policy for your property, and that keeps you to be at peace at all times whenever there is any challenge, because you know whatever happens, not due to your negligence anyways, whatever happens to the property, you are going to recover whatever you have invested, because you have proper insurance cover for that your property. So one thing you can do is to ensure you get insurance policy. Another is to fix any part of the property that is deteriorating at the earliest possible time. That's for that. Another risk that property owners face and managers is financial risk. Is there financial risk involved in ownership of property? Yes. Now, as a property owner, you may have so many properties, but when you fail to have or employ professionals to manage your property for you, you are likely to run into debt. One thing some people do when they see that, okay, a particular sector of the economy is flourishing, they either use what they already have, either take mortgages or even take outright loans, maybe very subsidized interest rate. They take it to invest in that particular sector that is flourishing. Same thing with real estate. Real estate is one that is fetching huge sum of money to investors, and both private investors, corporates, and even the government. The government is also going into it, though they have been into property investment for such a long time. Now, if you are going to invest in property as a property owner, you decide to expand your cost, but you fail to have right financial advice while you are going into it, you may even run bankrupt. There are persons who take out loans to purchase property with a view of collecting rent on that particular property to repay the debt. Now, if you don't have a real-time advice, that is, you go into the market, okay, what is the situation? Is it that, okay, a particular property is going up for this particular amount? What profit am I going to make? Don't just make assertions by yourself. You don't have that knowledge that experts have. So until you know you are an expert in that particular field, even if you are an expert, sometimes you may be biased because you already have emotional attachments to what you want to do. Get independent minds to assess what you want to do. Then they will be able to give you advice on what to do. Once you are acting on professional advice, you are likely to succeed. So the way you can save yourself from any financial ridicule is to get experts' advice when venturing into real estate. It's not enough to say, okay, I'm an economist, or I've been into real estate for 2 years, I should know everything that concerns real estate. No, times are changing very fast. What you know as at yesterday may not be as relevant today as it were yesterday. So you must ensure that, okay, there are other persons who are ahead of you in the game. Get them to give you that right advice. Get a team of accountants, get a team of estate valuers, get a team of lawyers. They work together to give you the best of result. And once you have all of these persons put together, the lawyer ensures that your property is secured, you get property from the right persons, and the accountant ensures that your financial investment is safe, and the estate valuer ensures that, okay, you are getting a property for the real value. Some persons, because they invested so much, they tend to sell above the actual value for a property within that region. If you decide to invest ₦1 billion in a particular property, maybe you were cheated along the line because you did not get real advice from persons, and you want to sell at the same amount which you have invested. But in the real sense, the cost of a passing property with that area is just about $500 million, and you end up losing what you have invested. So get real persons who are into the various aspects of the real estate business to advise you to avoid running into debt, because you may secure loan trying to invest in property. Another one we'll also look at is staff safety. You may be wondering, if I'm a property owner, do I need staff? Yes, you need persons to manage property. It's also possible that as a property owner decide to, okay, I'm going to employ these persons to develop a particular property. You are making expansion to your property. The persons you are employing to do that renovation in your property, the persons you are employing to build your property, the persons you are employing to manage your property, one way or the other, they become your staff. They may not be directly employed by you. They may have contractors who brought them into the site. If they are bringing legal action, they are going to join you as a party to that particular action that they are bringing. Now, what can you do to save yourself of any of these challenges? One, like I said earlier when I was talking about injury to tenants, is to ensure that the contractors or whoever you have put in charge of that property employs all cautionary measures that is required in that particular property. Another thing you can also do is to ensure that you place unauthorized persons are not allowed into a property that you are developing. Put that sign in a place that is seen by whoever is passing. You don't need to even come close to see it. As long as you are passing through that route, you are going to see that sign that says unauthorized persons are not allowed. Another one you can also do is to ensure that whoever is coming into the property is properly dressed in a manner that it reflects what is required in that property health-wise. Now, if you are developing a property and someone comes in without wearing safety boots, safety clothes and all of that, it means the person is exposing himself to danger. And if that person is not cautioned to get the necessary protective materials on, and once the person is exposed to injury and injury happens, you are going to take responsibility for whatever happens in that property. So you must ensure that anyone you are employing to develop your property takes proper care in handling anything within that premises that shields you of any legal liability to that person. Supervisors ensure that they employ all forms of professionalism that is required to ensure a property is in the right state. Now, at the point of developing a property, we have had instances where buildings collapsed and persons are trapped in that building. You also have a duty to ensure that the right materials are used one of the things that can be responsible for building collapse is persons who prefer to use materials that are cheap. Ensure you go for the best quality while you are developing your property. Don't just say I want to spend less while developing, while you aim to make the best profit out of it. Invest rightly in the property and you also get a lasting result from that property. Another one we'll quickly look at because of time is data breach. You may be wondering, how does data breach come into this conversation when we are discussing property ownership and managers? What possible risk can come into having a property? Now, data breach, you know, the current times we are now, persons are moving from analog to digital. Persons are moving their businesses from the physical setting into the online markets. The internet is a major place. Persons are doing their transactions today. People buy and sell goods, they render services online without even having to meet with the person that they are transacting with. I've done lots of transactions online with a person that I've never met. The person hasn't even seen my picture, not to talk of seeing me. I haven't seen the person's face either, but we transact online. Now, in the course of doing all of these things, you put out a lot of information concerning you, concerning the property you are giving out. Let's say as a property manager, you decide to put out some information concerning a property that you want to lease. And in the course of putting out this information, some persons may hack into that particular account that you are using. That's how data breach happens. Let's say in the course of transacting, you also had customers or clients who also fill forms online, and these information are stored on your website or your social media platform, and that particular platform gets hacked. And once that happens, the next thing that happens is the information that you have stored there, both yours and those of your clients, they will be taken by these hackers. And once that happens, there is a breach, and they may end up using those information they have collected on that site to extort money from either the customers or even yourself. They will start impersonating you, impersonating the customers, and that once that happens, the customer is likely to sue you for that data breach. And once that happens, you are going to lose a fortune trying to settle all of these persons that are bringing action against you. Also, you trying to recover that particular account that has been hacked, you also spend a fortune restoring it. And in the process, you see that you lose some goodwill. Some persons who are trusted you with their information are going to be very skeptical in trusting you with their information in subsequent time. And persons who are unable to recover from that shock of what has happened may not recommend your business to some other person. So what can you do to save yourself all of this? Ensure that your site is properly protected. Employ the best hands. Don't just open a social media account or host a website without proper protection. Ensure that anything that is coming into that site is unauthorized. Persons also shouldn't be allowed to access it. That is from the admin end. There is a place that is open to the public, and there is a place that is open to only persons who are the managers of the social media account or the website. Now, you must ensure that the security details to that account are secured somewhere that only authorized persons have access to, and you must ensure you know the persons who have access to every information concerning your social media platforms or website. Once this is done, once there is a data breach, you know who and who to hold responsible. When you do all of these things, you will see that you are always secured at all times. This may not be exhaustive, but we are focusing today on property managers. In subsequent edition, we'll also be talking about property investors, what are the risks they face and what they can do to save themselves. Agents as well, property brokers, what are the challenges they face and how they can also save themselves. In summary, always ensure that you employ all cautionary measures have been put in place to protect you as a property owner. Don't ever take any information for granted. Whatever you're taking for granted may be that which may save you. So take these tips that we have highlighted today and see how they can help you. If you have any questions, always reach out to us. We are there to always listen to you. And if you have comments too, you can also drop your comments. Follow us on our social media platform, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Also join our WhatsApp community. We'll always be ready to listen to you. You can also follow us on Twitter. If you have any information you want to request, a particular information from us, you can send us email at info@lawaccents.com. I remain Destiny Unuati Ichibo. Thanks for being with us. See you next time.